Now, you've been a terrific audience, and we've been doing a ton of singing, so I thought I'd take a little break to tell you all a quick little story. Now, it's a completely true story, one that happened to me in the Spizzwinks not too long ago, just as we were about to head off to our fabulous summer tour to, among other places, Johannesburg, South Africa. Now, the first thing you should know about me is that I am not very smart.
Nope.
You see, the night before we were supposed to leave, I was staying up really, really late playing Twister with my roommate. Yeah, it was weird. And when I woke the next morning with my right foot still on red, I found that much to my deep and abiding shame, the Spizzwinks had left without me.
You did it on purpose.
I had no idea what to do. I was in a complete state of panic. So I did what any of you probably would have done. I ran to the nearest airport. Yes, it was a long way, but I ran. And I jumped on the first plane that I could find, thinking that naturally, that plane would take me from New Haven, Connecticut, all the way to Johannesburg, South Africa. But when I got off that plane, when I deplaned, I found that I was not on the warm, welcoming, relatively safe streets of Johannesburg. No. I was on the mean, mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts! Now, as you may be aware, Cambridge is home to a small, unimportant... Gentlemen, please! It's called Harvard! Let me remind you that Harvard is the finest correctional facility on the East Coast. So, there I was, wandering those cobbled streets of Cambridge, trying not to run into that famous Harvard alumnus, the Unabomber, when I noticed a small crowd beginning to gather. Gather, gather, gather! And off in the distance, there was a house on fire! Fire! Flames were leaping everywhere! But that was not the most astonishing thing, ladies and gentlemen. For atop that burning tower, wreathed in smoke, there stood a beautiful, young Harvard maiden. And she was holding her 6-month-old baby. Check, please, taxi! And she was shouting, "Help me! Help me! Somebody save me and my baby!" Well, the crowd thought for a moment. And then the cleverest one among them shouted, "Jump! It's your only chance! Jump! It's your only chance! Chance!" They were a small yet relatively well-organized crowd. "Oh, but it's far too far! He'll never make it!" Well, the crowd was pretty exasperated. But being intrepid souls, they thought for one moment more. And then, assuming really uncomfortable positions, they thought for an indefinite period of time. Why? Suddenly inspiration struck. "Throw the baby," they shouted. "At least we can save the baby." "Throw the baby, at least we can save the baby!" "But who will catch him? He'll splatter on the ground like an egg, or a hefty bag filled with chicken broth." Seemingly, all hope was lost. But it was then, just then, in that very moment, there emerged from that crowd the amazing, the incredible, the inimitable, the impotent, the incontinent Andover Exeter III! He's so big! And indeed he was, ladies and gentlemen. For Andy here was not your ordinary Harvard schmo, no Surrey Bob, no Ma'am Susan. Andy here was the star wide receiver for the Harvard Crimson football team! And Andy here was not about to drop that baby, because Andy never drops a nothing. Nope. So Andy decided to prepare with a few brief but invigorating warm-up exercises. Hoo! Ha! And then a young, buxom Harvard cheerleader emerged from that crowd to give Andy a piece of moral encouragement. "Go, Andy." La la, indeed. For at last, it It seemed like that was all our hero needed, for at last Andy was ready. Hi-ya! That crowd was ready. Hi-ya! And even that tiny little baby in his mother's arms in that burning building breathing smoke, that little baby was ready. Hi-ya! And so, our beautiful young Harvard mother faded back for what was about to become the most important pass of her young, yet tragically unfulfilled life. And she threw that paper. It was a perfect spiral. It went to the right. It went to the left. And defying all known laws of physics, it went back to the right again. And with a dive, Andy caught that baby. But he was so excited, he spun Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moral to every story. This story's moral should be quite clear. That is exactly what happens when you or a loved one goes to Harvard. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, fear not, the Harvard bashing not quite over. Any football fans out in the audience this evening? Some football fans.